Hi everyone, welcome to the Money Buddies podcast. I'm your host Chloe, and today I'm really excited to have Catherine on, so a little round of applause. So Catherine is currently the head of Pro-Bono in Hong Kong at Overy, which is a major international law firm, and I think whether you're looking into a Korean law or not, you can gain a lot of value from listening today. So yet again, thank you, Catherine, so much for coming on. So excited. So I'm excited. So obviously I know a bit of your story and I thought it was so cool. So can you tell us actually about your journey as a young person into law? Because you had a bit of a different story.
Yeah, I think I never really thought about being a lawyer when I was younger. And to be honest, I hadn't really thought about what career I wanted. And so when I was at school, I assumed that I would leave school at 16 because everyone in my family had. And I was just thinking about, well, what can I do when I leave school? And then one of my teachers talked to me and said, look, why are you going to be leaving school? And I said, oh, because I need to get a job. And so he encouraged me to stay on and finish my last 2 years at school, and then encouraged me to think about uni, which again, I thought I couldn't achieve from a socioeconomic point of view, because I came from a very low socioeconomic background and just assumed that I wouldn't be able to afford to go to uni. So I had all of those kind of, if you like, negative connotations in my mind in a way, in terms of you can't do this, I can't do this, I can't do this. And my teacher was like, you can do that, you can do that. So having him was like a huge thing. And then I thought, well, I don't really know what I want to do when I leave school. And I was doing very like broad, what we A levels, which are the final exams for the UK system. And it was French, English and maths. So I thought, if I do something different, then it will encourage me to think about what I want to do. And then of course it didn't, because I thought, well, what do you do with French? What do you do with maths? And so I thought, you know what, let's think of something different. Because I do like to challenge myself and try different things and new things. It's always something I've done right from when I was little. And so I thought, law's something different. No lawyers in the family, didn't know any lawyers. I'd probably seen something on TV. There was probably some drama on TV. And it probably looked really glamorous, and so that's basically how I decided. And I didn't decide with a view to thinking I would become a lawyer. I thought I'll go to uni and just basically see what happens.
Just something.
So that's just basically, yeah. I mean, I know a lot of people have like a life plan from age 5, but that wasn't me.
No, so that's unbelievable. So you weren't even thinking of going to university, but you end up studying law. So I think that's a good example to everyone listening right now, that don't let any of your preconceived ideas determine your future, definitely. So your teacher played obviously a really big role in you going to university. Can you tell us a bit about that?
Yes, he was my history teacher, and I'm so glad he was my teacher, because I think without him, I wouldn't be sitting talking to you today. Mm-hmm. And I firmly believe I would not be sitting in Hong Kong and having this discussion.
Yeah, you're in Hong Kong. That's unbelievable. Anyway, continue.
Yeah. He was just so inspirational in that he wanted people to achieve their potential, whatever that meant, whether that was a great job, academically, just being a really good person. He was so inspirational in terms of people making the best of themselves personally and, school-wise, academics and professionally. And so having him as a role model and a mentor was super important, because I would have had no idea how to apply to uni. He talked about I could get a grant from the government.
So he really guided you through that process?
He guided me through the whole process. So he told me that I could apply for a grant to get my fees paid at uni, and that I could probably get a partial living allowance from the government, which was very fortunate at the time. Obviously, it's very different now for students here. And I think he just gave me the confidence to think I could do it. Because I'd always thought, this is it, this is the end, school-wise. But he was like, no, there's a bigger world. You should just go for it. And I think he really opened my mind to not closing my mind, if that makes sense.
Yeah, no,
because I think depending on situations anyone finds themselves in life, you can make assumptions about what's next without really focusing on, well, could there be something different? And I don't think that was anyone's fault. As I said, no one in my family had actually been to uni before. My brother was a year ahead of me, and he was thinking of going. So my brother and I were first generation in our family to get to go to uni.
It's unbelievable.
So, yeah. So I think if you don't see people doing it, it's not something that necessarily would spring to mind. And we didn't really have particularly any career counselling at school. I mean, now I think that, it's a lot better in schools that there's proper, careers counselling. So I think him just putting me on the right path and pointing me in the direction. And he even took me to his old university with another friend, another student. He was encouraging the two of us to apply to uni.
So he really went above and beyond.
He went totally
above
and beyond.
That's so good.
But I think for him, I think I've taken on some of his traits personally. He really wants to see people achieve and get the best out of people. So I think he saw something in myself and my friend Jane that he thought, there's something here that could be more. So yeah, he was just great. He was just a great guy.
So would you say his mentorship really led to now you working in pro bono, and also your socio-economic situation there, wanting to give back through your work?
I think certainly the socio-economic situation is a big influence on what I'm doing in the pro bono community investment CSR space, whatever you want to call it, because I think coming from not having very much, I can really understand people's situations. And now in a position where I have more, I'm in a position to help. And also I think I'm in a unique position to encourage others to help. And I don't think he necessarily put me on the pro bono path, but he definitely put me on a path to always keep an open mind. You might, be on one path and then turn to another path. Don't be afraid of that. And he always said, look, don't be afraid of change is another important thing. So because at the moment you think, I'm hitting 16, I'm going to get a job, that's it. And now I'm asking you to do 2 more years at school, encouraging you to go to uni, and encouraging you to look widely about a job. And at the time I'm like, whoa, that's a bit scary. So he definitely taught me that you can have goals and aspirations. You might not always achieve them, but you should strive for it as best you can.
So I want to wind back a bit from where you are now, or go on from your university. So after university, can you tell us your journey to now living in Hong Kong and working in pro bono?
Yeah, sure. I left university, I'm guessing years before you were born. This is making me feel very old, by the way. So I left, graduated from Oxford University with a law degree in 1988, then went on and did a year at law school, at Guildford Law School in Surrey. And when I was at uni, all the law firms came to visit and did on-campus interviews. And I genuinely didn't know anything about any processes. And because all my friends were going along to all these interviews, I thought, oh, maybe that if you're doing a law degree, that's what you do. So I kind of tagged along and did all these interviews. And and all of them were hiring for London. I'm like, oh, it's miles away from where I live. And what am I going to do? How do I live there, etc. I thought, you know what? My teacher said, keep an open mind, go for it. So I interviewed with, I think it was about 20 firms. And A&O came out top, not because it began with A, and it was easier just to go with a firm that began with A, but they were the only firm who didn't ask me any legal questions. Now, you might think that's an odd thing to say, but what they asked me was all about myself. What do you enjoy? What do you like doing? What drives you? What's your passion? What are your aspirations? And at the end of the interview, I remember saying to them, oh, are there no law questions? And they said, well, no. He said, well, why would we ask you law questions? You're still in the middle of your degree, and we'll teach you that if you join us.
So they took a different approach. So that really stuck with you.
Because it's very much about getting to know the person. things with academics, it all goes without saying that, for most roles that you're going to look at in life, academics are important, but they were much more interested in who I was. And one of them asked me, well, what gets you out of bed in the morning? Which is another way of saying what drives you. And whenever I do interviews now, I always ask that question. So I've kept that in my mind from a long time ago. So yeah, and so I joined the firm in 1990 and had to do like 2 years training before I could qualify formally as a solicitor. And you try all different types of departments and different specialities, and you basically pick one when you qualify. So I qualified in 1992 and went into what's called the International Capital Markets Department, which does a lot of financings and all funky financial products.
Did your French help with that?
No, it didn't. Even though it's international, there was no French involved. So I did that for 3 years in London. And then the partner who was my main partner that I worked for, he announced that he was moving to Hong Kong to become the first Allen & Overy Asia managing partner. And he said to me, he said, look, I'd like you to come with me because, I'm still going to be doing my practicing in my fee earning work as well as the management role. So why don't you come with me? And I immediately just said yes. And he said,
yeah.
Do you want to think about it for more than like 30 seconds? And it was one of those gut reactions where it was like, this feels right. And I think it was partly because he was an amazing mentor as well, and role model. And I thought, and I didn't want to stop working for him. I thought, he's a really amazing person. I want to continue working for you. And I thought, and it was a 2-year posting. He said, come for 2 years and then you can come back to London. I thought, okay, 2 years is not, 2 years is okay. And so I think 4.5 weeks later, I was in Hong Kong, and it all happened super fast. So I had to pack up everything, home and say bye to family, friends.
You thought the move to London was a big move, but now you're in Hong Kong.
Exactly. Yeah, so I continued my move east, so south to London and then east to Hong Kong. So I arrived in 95, and it was just full on. It was exciting. It was a time when Asia was like really, expanding in all kinds of ways. Very different to obviously what I was doing in London, but familiar because I was still with the firm. And also another associate who was in my team in London transferred out just before me. So there was like a friend there as well who I knew. And then a couple of years after that, I moved up a rank to counsel. And then in 1998, I made partner. So I made partner. It was quick. So from joining the firm to making partner was 8 years. And I was only 31 when I made partner. So that was pretty young.
Yeah, very. And also, that's very, very impressive achievement.
Well, to be honest, because you're right in it at the time, you don't think about it until you look back, or other people like you have just made a comment like that. I just thought, well, that's what people are doing, and that's what happens.
No, that's not what happens.
That's not. Maybe I was just in the right place at the right time. I don't know. Anyway, and also I was the first female partner for my practice group globally. So I was the first ever female partner within the group, which again at the time I didn't really focus on it because I was focused on I need to get through this process. I've got my partnership, and now the work really starts because now I'm responsible for other people rather than other people being responsible for me. So yeah, it was all a bit of a whirlwind, to be perfectly honest. And I mean, the reason I stayed in Hong Kong was I felt it really felt like home fairly quickly for me, and also because it was so different and it was all exploding in terms of the business world and everything. I thought this is a really good place to really develop professionally, because I was doing stuff that hadn't been done before in some of the jurisdictions, like some of these products that we were working on, it just hadn't happened before. So it's, oh yeah, we did that for the first time in this country, or we did that for the first time. And because I like to do new things and like to challenge myself, it was perfect for me, because it's like, okay, we've done that. What's the next thing? What's the next big thing? And then it became open-ended. So my 2 years ran out pretty quickly, obviously, because I had to make the decision, was I going back to think about partnership or stay in Hong Kong? And then I stayed for the reason which I just said. And I also stayed because my mentor, Paul, was still going to be around. But it's almost like this, I don't know, I believe in fate a lot. And it's almost like the stars continually align.
It sounds like it, definitely.
And I think I've been very lucky to have met the people I've met over my professional, well, school first and then professional career. That I've been really lucky that they've all had a very positive influence on me and helped me along my journey. And it's not just my teacher and that one partner I mentioned. It's multiple partners. Alan Overy, helped me on that journey to get to where I am today.
No, you've done amazing things. That's so amazing. So now I want to talk a bit more about what you're currently doing now within your role. So firstly, what does your role entail?
Sure. This role came about because I actually left the partnership in 2012. Not because I didn't like the firm, not because I didn't like my clients, not because I didn't love my team. I just wanted to do something different. And that something different was going into the NGO sector. So I went off to work pro bono for various charities in Hong Kong and internationally. And about 3 years after I left, the firm contacted me and asked me to come back. And I was like, well, I'm having a nice time doing all my charity work, doing a bit of travel. And they said, no, we would like you to come and do this role, head of pro bono community investment in Hong Kong. Because the partner who took over from being the pro bono partner, which I was when I was there, he just hadn't got time to do it. And I said, look, can you just come in maybe a couple of days a week just to do this role? And so I said, yeah, sure. I said that, and I did miss everyone, and I stayed connected to everyone through the alumni network because I'm actually officially the A&O Hong Kong alumni ambassador. It sounds very grand. All it means is you try and get people together from time to time. And so I'd been doing pro bono work with alumni through the firm. So I'd stayed connected for the time away. And so they offered me this role, which inevitably hasn't ended up as a 2-day-a-week role. Because if you put someone in this kind of role, they can seriously focus on sourcing work, managing it, etc. So initially it was, I can just come for 6 months just to get it all in place again, and then it'll be okay. And so it's now almost 7 years.
So yet again,
that's not something I planned on. But the great thing about it is that it feels right to be back, to be with everyone, because having the platform of Alan and Overy to do work in the pro bono space gives me, I think I can make a much bigger impact with that program rather than with just all the other stuff I was doing. I'm still doing all my other stuff. So I do all the stuff outside A&O, and then I do my A&O role. And it's actually really good because when I'm at A&O, I can put my NGO hat on and say, well, what do NGOs need from A&O? And then the opposite way around, when I'm in the NGO space, I can put my corporate hat back on and say, look, if you want to get money out of these people, this is what you need to do. But also advising, because a lot of NGOs don't know how to partner with corporates because there might be a new NGO or they're not sure what's expected. So I can say, look, these are things that might be expected. This is what you need to do. So it's a really good blend. And sometimes it gets a bit blurred because A&O is partners with some of the NGOs that I'm actually involved with. And so they make donations to them. And so it all has to be very, we have to be all clear about who's making decisions about donations and that kind of thing. But I do think that also from the firm's perspective, I bring a lot more because I have worked in the NGO sector and I'm still doing that.
Yeah.
But sometimes I get a bit, I wake up in the morning and say, oh, is it an A&O day today? Oh, no, is it an NGO day today? Is it a both day today? So I have to just check myself sometimes. But I'm absolutely loving it because I just feel that, particularly with the A&O, what we're doing at A&O, and we can talk a bit more about this if you want later, in terms of how we try and influence others to do what we're doing, to make an even greater impact in Hong Kong or elsewhere, just because of the platform that we have. So that's really important to me. And also it's a key thing for the Hong Kong office to raise as much awareness as we can about issues in Hong Kong, what the challenges are, what people are facing, and also how we can help.
No, that's so cool. Oh my gosh, this is just so great to talk to you guys. Everyone, we're so lucky to have Catherine on so far talking to us. So you're saying you work, you have a few days, at Allen Overy and then doing your outside NGOs. So when you're not locked down with COVID, do you usually go out a lot to different NGOs, or are you more in the office?
It's a mix depending what I'm doing. Most of the A&O stuff is office-based because it involves obviously managing the legal projects we work on, the non-legal volunteering or the donations, etc. So that's fairly office-based. And obviously there was a lot of volunteering that we were doing pre-COVID, which obviously had to stop, which is unfortunate. But with my other NGOs, I'm out and about a little bit more, depending on what I'm doing. I'm on the board of something called an NGO called the Zubin Foundation here, and we work with the ethnic minority population. So I've done some good hands-on projects with them in terms of trying to support them. But if you say to me, what's a normal day look like? I just go, there's never a normal day.
Yeah.
It's not. It's not even a 9-to-5 job, because the arrangement with Allen Overy is that I'll get the work done, but it's not necessarily Monday and a Tuesday 9 till 5, because I try and juggle and fit everything together. So yes, there's no normal day, but on the whole, a lot of it is organising and managing and sourcing opportunities and making sure if people have signed on to run pro bono legal projects, the lawyers obviously manage and do the work. But I have to make sure that things are on track and that we're meeting deadlines and that kind of thing.
Yeah, no, that makes sense. So no, that's so cool though. So I was going to ask, so we've been discussing your passion for working in pro bono, and I think it's obviously been really great to talk to you, because you're like a true example. As you said, you love it. You're achieving your professional goals and also like helping advance society's goals, helping other communities. So I have one final question, and this is, hopefully, could you please give a piece of advice for a viewer? Any piece of advice. This could be related to careers, to university, anything you like.
That's a really hard question. Can I give more than one piece of advice, or has it got to be one?
Yes, love it. Yeah, as many as you want.
As many as I want. Okay, let's think. I think in terms of thinking about your career, I would say don't think you've got to have a set thing in mind at age 15, 16. Some people do, and that's great. If people are very, I want to be a doctor, or I want to be train driver, or whatever you want to do, I think that's fine. But if you're not sure, don't worry and panic about it, because it will come over time. And I would say, if you're not sure what you want to do, I would do something that you enjoy when you go to uni. I did enjoy my law degree, but part of me thinks I might have enjoyed doing languages more, and then done my law master's or postgrad after that. So I think just always keep an open mind and don't assume you can't do something. There will be situations where you can't. I'm not saying that everything you dream that you'll get, but I think starting from the point of I'm going to try and I want to try, I think is super important. I think it's also important to find people you trust to be a mentor or a role model, because that's really important. And that can be a family member, it can be a friend, it can be a teacher. And obviously when you get into the workplace, you will naturally have role models, because you'll be reporting into someone, whatever you're doing. So I say that on the career side, but on the pro bono side and the community investment side, some people said to me, what's the point? Because you can't solve all the world's issues. You say to me, you cannot solve global hunger. I said, I know I can't solve global hunger. I can't even solve hunger in Hong Kong, but I can do a little bit myself, and I can encourage other people to do it. So I mean, the way we approach it at A&O is we constantly challenge ourselves to find new and original ways, thinking about the legal challenges faced by our pro bono clients or society at large. And we try and see how we can make most impact. And that, I mean, recently in Asia, we've been doing a lot of work around focusing on access to justice and access to employment for those who are discriminated against. For example, refugees, we're helping refugees in Hong Kong, or people that are discriminated because of their race or their sexuality. So I think it's super important, and that sounds like really big and a great firm, but what I respond back to people normally is, if you did one thing once a month to help someone else, that's all you need to do. And it can be donating $10 to a charity. It can be, like here at the moment, there's an organization called Feeding Hong Kong that's doing a food drive for Chinese New Year. You can buy a bag of rice and drop it off at the charity. It doesn't have to be a grand gesture. It's just thinking about, well, this is the situation I'm in. This is the situation someone else is in, and how can I help that person? And you may never even see the person. I mean, the bag of rice I drop off, I don't know who's going to get it. I know it's someone in need, but I don't need to know who's getting it, because I just know it's going somewhere. So I would encourage everyone to just think about what small thing they could do. And, you know, it could be once a week if you want, even if it's just saying hi to someone you would normally say hi to. I mean, I always say hi to the like security guards at the building at A&O, because they're just standing there all day with no one to talk to. So even just a gesture, a kind gesture, is a way of supporting people as well. So I think that expect the unexpected as well, and don't expect that the path you thought you're going to go on is the one you're going to go on. But if you're doing it all works out, that's totally fine. But if it does diverge at some point, and be brave. I think you need to be brave. I mean, the world that you guys are coming into now in terms of the workforce and what's happening is very different to me, you know, lots of years ago, over 30.
Oh, you're so young.
So I think you've got different challenges. I mean, you've got the climate challenge that, you know, I mean, it was not as apparent, obviously, when I was, you know, your age. So I would say, in short, play to your strengths, find role models, be kind to people, make small gestures, and just be confident and comfortable in yourself. And don't let anyone tell you that you should be something different, or you can't do this, or you can't do that. If there's something you're really passionate about, try and find a way to do it, because on the whole, I think it does work out.
No, thank you so much, Catherine, and thank you everyone for watching and listening to this podcast episode. I'm sure we've all learned a lot from Catherine, and we'll see you for our next podcast.